What's up, everybody? Welcome back. It is once again Skews Day. You know, at least where you're coming from. You're watching this on Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. We are recording this, coming to you from Monday, September 15th, at about 1:30 p.m. on the left coast. That's where we are in space and time as we sit down to record this missive to y'all in the Skew-niverse. This is Weekly Skews. I'm Trey. That's Mark. Mark, how you doing? How you hanging in there? I like that hat.
Thanks, buddy. Just enjoying my birthday as it is, you know.
Yeah, I was gonna say everybody wish Mark happy birthday, whatever. But I didn't know it wouldn't surprise me if you were like, all right, can we go back can we take that from the top? Like, you know, I don't want anybody to know it's my fucking birthday. I don't want to deal with happy birthday messages and fucking, you know. I thought you might respond that way, so I decided I just wouldn't say anything. But yeah, happy birthday.
Thanks, bud. Yeah, we're gonna have some interesting show today. We talked about. You know, the Charlie Kirk shooting on Friday's show, the bonus episode, so we're not going to rehash all that, but we were going to talk about the latest developments, in which case they, seem to have sort of settled on a theory of the case that involves motive, but they don't have a motive. They're just kind of spitballing. But before we get to that, since a lot of what we're talking about today is the competence and trustworthiness of Kash Patel's FBI, I want to talk about this before we get to the show. Some FBI agents in Billings, Montana had a dilemma, and that is that they had 2 pounds of methamphetamine they need to get rid of. But luckily for them, the town has an animal shelter, which has a furnace, so they had the bright idea to burn the 2 pounds of methamphetamine in the animal hospital's furnace, in the animal shelter, sorry. And you'll never guess, all the dogs and cats got super high on meth along with the 14 people who worked there. So
Nice. Man,
cops
dude,
have moved
cats
on
meth. It's got to be that's got to be a scene right there. They got wild.
Jesse Pinkman is a cat. Did you guys got going on?
Yeah, right.
I'm just excited that cops have moved on from shooting dogs to getting them high on crystal. So let me quote here from the shelter executive director. Her name's Trinity Halverson. Said she was unaware the drug burn was happening. I can firmly and confidently say that as the executive director, I did not know they were disposing of extremely dangerous narcotics on site. So they snuck into the animal shelter to burn this meth, I guess. So her whole team got exposed. And this is basically what happens when you fire everyone at the RIF, everyone at the FBI with an IQ over 80. Some of the staff were exposed to smoke for more than an hour. The impacted animals were given veterinary care and placed in temporary housing, including 4 litters of kittens who were apparently being closely monitored because they were closed in a room with the smoke. 4 litters of kittens. So basically, they've created a kitten army to steal your copper wiring and catalytic converters. Jesus Christ. I have a hard time getting in the minds of these people because, American police have gaslit themselves into getting panic attacks every time they come in contact with fentanyl because they think that merely touching fentanyl will be enough to
even
kill
with
you
gloves
instantly.
on. Yeah. That's all those videos. I know you've showed them on here before of some cop having a very over the top, freak out session, very dramatically because it's oh, that's fentanyl in there, and then acting like they're going to die and stuff and everything. But they just take a couple trash bags full of meth and chuck it in the fireplace with all the family pets and everybody, all their loved ones in the room with them with no ventilation and stuff. They're like, I should be fine.
Yeah, in an enclosed space. Yeah, and and so basically the shelter's uninhabitable for a month. So they just completely ruined all these people's lives for the next few weeks or whatever for no fucking. I don't know. You've got to be a better way to get rid of meth in Montana.
Right.
At least they aren't selling it, I guess. That's
yeah, that's what I was about to say. I'm surprised that wasn't the move. What do they normally? What is the normal move? It goes into evidence, I guess, right, until the case is closed, and then they sell it and keep all the money. Sometimes, obviously, I'm sure that happens. But otherwise, what is it like an approved incineration, facility for these types of disposition efforts?
Their defense of themselves that they've burned drugs to get rid of them at this specific facility before, I guess whatever way they did it, they forgot to open a window or something. I don't know. It doesn't. It's all too stupid. You're right. I think they usually do burn it, but they burn it differently.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into it. But before we do, of course, I've got some business to take care of. As always, if y'all want to see me do stand up, live and in person, which I just got back from 4 days in upstate New York and Connecticut. It was an interesting time, but a good time. It was fun. The shows were good. Thanks to everybody who came out. You can go to TreyCrowder.com and check out my upcoming tour dates. Up next is Ohio in a couple of weeks, most of Ohio. And then after that, there's big Virginia run, Milwaukee, Madison, Dallas, Oklahoma City, Nashville at the end of the year with Corey and Drew, as always, right before Christmas. And a bunch of dates are up for 2026 already as well, so go to TreyCrowder.com and check them out. While you're there, you can check out a link to my most recent comedy special, Trash Daddy. If you haven't watched it already, please do, or watch it again. That's cool, too. Sorry, air conditioner just came on. If you would like a palate cleanser, and Lord knows that would come in handy, and these are trying times, you can check out Producer Matt's audio-exclusive project called Good Skews. Good people doing good things. You can get that on the podcast or the audio version of this show. So find Skews on whatever podcast app you use or have, and Good Skews will be on there, and you can check it out. And finally, if you want more of this particular show and want to support the show in the process, you can sign up on Patreon. You can go to weeklyskews.com/more, or you can search for my name on Patreon. Either way, $5 a month gets you access to 2 full-length bonus episodes, and we also do interactive episodes over there with Skew and A's, we call them. We answer your burning questions. So get some more Skews in your life. Consider it. All right. As for the show tonight, we're going to be talking about, just all the continuing ongoing fallout of the past few days and where we're at with all that, like motive without motive and everything, as Mark already referred to up top. But we'll get to that in a little bit. First, we begin, as we always do, with the Daily Dumbass. Matt, graphic, please. Tonight's DD, judges who've never heard of defendants pleading not guilty by reason of being too sane.
In court today, the 59-year-old shackled at the wrists and ankles calmly told Judge Eileen Cannon he wanted to dismiss his court-appointed attorneys. When Cannon asked if he wanted her to assign 2 more, he said, "I will represent myself." Cannon quizzed Routh on his background. He said he has a GED, 2 years of engineering at UNC, and has only ever defended himself in traffic cases. Routh also
this is the trial of attempted Trump assassin Ryan Routh, who was the guy. He's the guy that tried to shoot him on the golf course. Oh, well, he didn't get any shots off because the Secret Service agent saw him and shot at him, then he drove away and they caught him. You remember what I'm talking about?
Dude, it's so crazy that I honestly had kind of forgot that one even happened. Like, obviously, I remember the one in Butler or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I do remember this now that it has been brought back up, but I had like completely forgotten that, that there was, a second, thwarted or failed assassination attempt on Trump last year. It's fucking nuts.
Yeah. So I do want to thank Judge Eileen Cannon for letting him represent himself, because you're going to get some good content out of it. So let me quote here as his trial started last week. Introductory statements are typically used to preview evidence and arguments for the rest of the trial, but Mr. Roos were dedicated to his philosophical musings on intent, the history of human evolution, the, quote, need to be kind to one another, and the beauty found in hearthstones worn smooth by generations of children. He invoked Adolf Hitler and Vladimir Putin and declared, quote, modern trials seem to eliminate all that is human. So, yeah, it's like, shouldn't we all just hug and go home? His defense.
Those quotes sound like the general type of things I would have expected a guy like that to say or be into. Meaning, like, he seems well put together, obviously. Like, very cogent, clear-headed.
You would expect a guy who decided single-handedly to try to alter the course of the history of the United States to be a little bit of a narcissist, but even he goes a little bit over the top. Cannon, for her part, had to interrupt him a bunch of times to remind him of proper procedure and, quote, reprimand him for, quote, making a mockery of this court. It must really hit for judges and lawyers that get to do TV law drama shit.
Yeah, well, especially that. Isn't she the Trump's right hand judge or one of them? Like, she's very, very she's hardcore Team Trump. So I'm just based on just that. I would assume she also fucking loves attention and fucking circus antics and shit shows and stuff. Would be my
right. She's a very young
guess.
She's a very young, by the standards of such things, like movement lawyer who was rushed onto the bench after Trump lost in 2020, and is she's the one that did a bunch of things every lawyer and judge in the country was looking at side to get make sure Trump got away with the documents case.
Right. Right.
So the God, Ruth, let me figure out a little more of his vibe. Cannon had previously rejected his proposed questions to prospective jurors in the case, calling them, quote, very much off base and irrelevant. The questions, Cannon said, included queries about pro-Palestinian student activism and Trump's support for a U.S. takeover of Greenland, obviously very important to a criminal trial in Florida. Prosecutors plan to show the jury at least one letter Ruth purportedly authored. The missive addressed, quote, Dear World, and allegedly included in a box left with an acquaintance months before the incident. It began, was an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, but I'm so sorry I failed you. So I guess he figured that would only be read if he was dead after failing to kill Trump. Which I don't even, why even go to... just fucking plead guilty. He didn't actually shoot anybody. So they don't have a death penalty case. You're going to get found guilty.
Well, I figure a guy like this, in his mind, he thinks this is his chance, to, whatever, get his message out there, captivate the hearts and minds of the people or whatever, or just, kind of influence some form of change, I think. Obviously, none of that's going to happen. I'm saying I bet that's probably what he thinks or something. So, or even if it's just I have to be able to tell my story or who the fuck knows. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's wild. He's a little crazy. So, He
proposed a prisoner swap where the Trump administration trade him for somebody to either China or Taiwan or Iran. But, his previous history is of protesting for vulnerable democracies like Ukraine and Taiwan. So I'm not sure why he wants to go to China, considering he supports Taiwan. I guess he wants to be tortured by them instead of us. Ruth also tried to call an old girlfriend as a character witness. Quote, the unnamed lover would apparently attest to Ruth's peacefulness because he refused to spank her ass.
I mean, you could follow that. You follow that logic.
Yeah.
If you don't want to spank a girl's ass, then you probably won't want to shoot a person.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine if I was charged with a murder where somebody had wiped down the scene with their fingerprints, calling my wife, he'd be like, nah, he'd never fucking clean up after himself that good.
Right. Yeah.
Fucking another aspect of this, a lot of his briefs are written on old basically he had to sue to get himself a typewriter because they're not allowed computers in prison. He filed a extremely unhinged motion where he challenged Trump to a fight. Quote, give me shackles and cuffs and let the old fat man give it his worst. Then he asked for strippers before challenging Trump to golf. If he wins, he can execute me. If I win, I get his job. So we're doing he wants access to strippers in prison. He wants to challenge Trump to trial by combat, and if Trump won't submit to that, he wants to challenge him to trial by golf. Yeah. And if he wins, he gets to be president.
But this guy sounds like he's got some good ideas. Yeah, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Mark. You might as well. He's like, what's the worst that can happen? They say no. That's might as well ask if I can have strippers and combat golf with the sitting president or whatever for my freedom. But yeah, I don't know. It's always been kind of a wild thing to me that I mean, I get it. I get how it's your right to represent yourself if that's what you want to do. But it's has there ever once been a case of that going well or working out,
There must have. I just can't think of one off the top of my head. But yeah.
But usually it's like this. Usually it's a circus.
Yeah, you want to, in general, if you want to, a good solid defense case, what you want to do is dispassionately and effectively dismantle the state's case or poke holes in it, not angrily rant about your innocence, because that's not really going to work. Yeah, I mean, what's the old expression? A lawyer represents himself as a fool for a client. Even professional lawyers don't do this for a reason. Right. Yeah, it's hard to look at yourself clearly in the mirror, it turns out, even for people who go to school to do it. All right, so let's talk about the continued fallout of the murder of Charlie Kirk. Here's Eric Trump on Fox News over the weekend. There's a whole level of unreality happening here, just disconnected from the case entirely, and I just wanted to talk about that for a little bit.
Well, I mean, Erica right there was so powerful. I watched the entire thing. I couldn't believe her strength and her courage. There's that famous quote right after Pearl Harbor, I think we've just awoken a sleeping giant and filled him with terrible resolve. And it kind of rings true here. That's exactly what you did. It literally, as I was showing up to the studio, Maria, there was an older Jamaican man who came up to me in very broken English and said, Mr. Trump, I'm very sorry about Charlie Kirk. He was an amazing Christian. I am Charlie Kirk, right?
Okay.
It transcended.
A Jamaican came up into it in broken English. Do you want to guess what language they speak in Jamaica, Trey?
Yeah, it is English. Look, I'm sure that's probably bullshit or whatever, but there's other things wrong with it too, i.e., like, that guy's clearly an immigrant, right? You know, or whatever, in New York. Like, that don't hit for them in general, you know, but he claims this particular immigrant loves Charlie Kirk, so, you know, he's on board with it. So there's a lot of dumb bullshit happening with that quote for sure. But, I mean, dude, you've heard, they speak a patois of English, a lot of them do. And if you're as white as Eric Trump, you ain't going to recognize that as even being English, probably. I would imagine.
Fair enough. I'm just like, everyone with personal security is even tangentially related to politics right now. Like, they're on super high alert. I just don't think they would let a random guy walk up to Eric Trump. Right.
Right. Again, I'm sure it is bullshit either way.
So I don't like, this is not, we talked about the killing a lot. I don't want to repeat ourselves, but like, murdering people is bad. It doesn't it doesn't mean you need to lie about all the stuff that Kirk said over the course of his career. It's just not necessary. It's also like the level of disproportion here. Like, there was a point over the story over the weekend where like the top 8 stories on the New York Times website were all about Charlie Kirk. And it starts to be like this thing is, wait, because like I know we follow this stuff closely, but is he that? Is it like when Tupac died or something? Like, did I miss something? So I went and found like this Harvard Youth Survey back from the spring, where it's about a poll of various public figures with like young people under like 21, which I guess would theoretically was his target demographic. I know it wasn't that. I know he was pretending that was his target demographic to like entertain older people, but like 46% of those kids had never heard of him, which is less than more people had never heard of him than had heard of Theo Von. All right.
More people had heard of him than have heard of Theo Von. Is that what you said?
Had not. More people had heard of Theo Von.
Okay.
All right. So for a frame of reference, 3% of those people had never heard of Donald Trump, which really was
right. Yeah.
So
I just don't. I wonder what that. Again, and I remember saying some version of this on the Patreon episode Friday, but it's just like, I feel like a lot of that also, it's like, I don't know what the standard is anymore because we don't have like a monoculture and shit the way that we used to. Like, I don't know what that number means because there's like massive fucking pop stars active right now. I guarantee you that I have no idea who the fuck they are, but they sell out fucking stadiums and all kinds of shit, you know, and it's like, just because the fact that I don't know who they are, does that mean they're not famous or whatever? Right. So, like, you know, I don't know.
There's definitely that going on, but in a frame of reference where like the monoculture, to the extent we have one, is making this the biggest. You wonder, like, I understand it's because a lot of these people knew him personally. It's also because it's like a 9/11 like 9/11 kind of popped the bubble where Americans were walking around and feeling safe from like large scale attacks, and then all of a sudden we didn't feel that way anymore, right? All these people who felt like they were completely untouchable, one of them got killed, and now they're all scared. And I understand that. It's like, but the rest of us walk around vulnerable all the time. Mm-hmm. But like that, like, okay, so there's a thing happening on the conservative internet right now where a bunch of people are spending their time driving around their towns looking for businesses that don't have their flags at half mast, posting pictures and snitch tagging those companies or harassing the employees. I'm talking about like a Chase Bank in Fargo, Fargo, right? This lady posted a story on X, Twitter, or whatever you want to call it, where according to her, she saw I think it was either Advanced Auto Parts or AutoZone, didn't have their flag lowered. She marched in angrily, demanded to see the manager, confronted him, and asked him why they didn't have the flag lowered for Charlie Kirk. And his answer to her, sincerely, was who? Mm-hmm. And she stormed out crying.
Right.
And I'm like, that guy spent the weekend mowing his grass, and that poll I was just citing, like Charlie Kirk had a net negative, favorable, unfavorable rating, but that doesn't even mean what you think it is, because even people that agree with your politics are going to find it annoying to talk. There's probably people out there who absolutely agree with a bunch of stuff Charlie Kirk said, who listen to like Barstool's college football coverage instead.
Oh, dude! I mean, how many things? We ain't got to name names or nothing, but how many like, you know, leftist public figures on the left can you think of offhand that you find fucking annoying, or that you're not, a real big fan of, like, a ton? So yeah, that obviously, exists on our side too.
Half the liberal leftist internet, I'll read their shit and be like, I agree with you, but shut the fuck up.
Right, yeah, right. Yeah.
We're just the level of pretending here. Like, so Ted Cruz spent the weekend doing this. If you got this image, Matt. So per Ted Cruz, someone spray painted "fuck Charlie Kirk" on an overpass in Houston, and he went out there with a roller and painted over it. Do we think someone? Whoever's doing street art in Houston, what are the odds they know who Charlie Kirk is? Do you know what I'm saying? Like they do this stuff all the time. Like, there's the guy playing in Black's Rule in his driveway or whatever. It's like, maybe somebody did that. I don't know, but like, if I'm Charlie Kirk or Charlie Kirk's family and I see Ted Cruz doing that, this all feels very vulgar.
Dude, that's what I could buy that someone tagged that just because, but Ted Cruz himself going out there and having a picture taken of him scrubbing it off is just like grossly performative, and obviously so, and it's just very in keeping for Ted Cruz. It's, lucky for him he didn't happen to be on the Amalfi Coast or somewhere when this when the people of Houston needed him desperately. He was actually there for this one with his squeegee in hand.
He posted a video of him doing it, and I forgot to pull the video, but just say his form, it was like if my mom was doing it.
Yeah.
And I say that as a person who looks really embarrassing when I swing a hammer, so I'm not even that's not even really a personal critique. But he didn't clean it off. He painted over it with a bigger, worse patch. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the message was gone, but he did a bigger form of vandalism. So it doesn't matter. He won't get a ticket. It doesn't matter. But yeah, so the bulk I want to talk about is they're trying to blame this on trans people. They spent let's watch this video if you got this next one, Matt.
My friend / roommate / partner is, transitioning, and the transgender movement just seems to be extremely problematic these days. And many of the mass shootings that we're seeing in this instance, it was the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
All right. So, unfortunately, this always seems to come up the last few years. There have been a few cases involving trans people being involved in sort of shootings or high-profile attacks, but it's unfortunately, for our country, we have a decent-sized sample size of both mass shootings and high-profile killings.
Yeah, this literally just came up, 2 weeks ago or whatever, in Minnesota. That was actually a trans person, right? That time, or was that?
It was a person.
Even that was it.
It was a person who had detransitioned, who was mad about.
Oh, right, that's right. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, they had been trans, but then we're but then we're detrans. Anyway, whatever. So even that's iffy. But then the whole thing, they treated that we don't have a gun problem or a mass shooting problem. We have a trans problem, and it's trans people make up less than 1% or whatever it is, or 0.1% or of all mass shootings and stuff. But yeah, we just went through all that again, which that wasn't the first time any of that had been brought up either. But it just happened, and now, of course, it's just always trans people. The
Minneapolis one, at least there was depending if you want to include it in the storyline, there is an element that involves But they remember the most famous one was the Denver guy who shot up the gay bar, whose lawyer was just trolling, trying to get him out of the death penalty, being like, we can't have committed a hate crime because he identifies as trans. Mm-hmm. Right, that's just doing a bit. That's not even remotely, But anyway, like I said, we have a decent sample size of thousands of mass shootings in recent years. 5 are known to have been committed by transgender people. So roughly the percentage of the population they are, which is basically kind of what you'd expect. But over the past week in this story, it's changed so many times. At first they said the shooter was trans. That turned out not to be trans. Then they said the bullets had transgender the bullets were trans. The bullets had transgender ideology on them. We talked about that on Friday. No, they didn't. It's they misunderstood video game references.
Have they come around on that though?
Yeah.
So they have since admitted that, the cover, they being Fox News and whoever else, right-wing media, they've acknowledged that they had that wrong. That's a
they
video
just stopped
game
talking about it. But Spencer Cox went on TV a couple times to talk. He's the Republican governor of Utah. Talked about it. So they stopped talking about it or admitted that they had nothing about the bullets had anything to do with anything trans. Now they're saying that his roommate is trans, but last week he lived at home and didn't have a roommate. Also, like, they're saying they're romantically involved, and that part I'm not sure where they're getting from, because like the roommate does seem to like be doing gender, right, in some level, whatever. But like they also have another roommate, like, but what's that guy's deal? Why isn't he part of the motive? And also, like, to the degree that the roommate is involved in this at all, they've been fully cooperative with the authorities. So like the involvement of a trans person here,
well,
is helping solve the case.
Also, like I don't know, the idea, it's like, look, this guy's got a trans girlfriend or trans partner, or however they would put it. It's like, what's that tell you, or whatever, like that. Immediately, like that, we just keep trying to like bring him back to like whatever he was being, radicalized by leftism or leftist ideas or something. Like he was when he went to college, or it's, oh, he's got this trans girlfriend. What kind of shit you think she's putting in his ears, or whatever they're like implying. But it's like, I pulling this kind of out of my ass. I just know that I've heard over the years that like trans porn is like the most oft searched porn amongst like conservative dudes or in conservative states or in like the Bible Belt and shit like that. So it's like, even if all that is true, that literally don't mean anything as far as like him being like a groiper or a different type of right wing nut. Like even if he has a secret trans girlfriend, like that isn't even really off brand for them if you know anything about how they move in the shadows or whatever. It's like not even really that surprising, even if it is true.
I think Nick Fuentes, the leader of the Groypers, does like a regular podcast stream with like a person who identifies as a trans furry or something. It's like all this stuff is so like you don't need to make it. People be out there doing stuff. You don't really need to make sense of it. That's fine. But like the argument, a bunch of people seem to be arguing sincerely that he can't be concerned. And again, we don't know his motive or politics or anything like that. He's for an extremely online person. He seems to have left no fucking paper trail, which seems weird, or post trail. But they seem to be arguing that like he can't be conservative because he has a secret trans girlfriend. It's like, that's exactly who would have a secret trans girlfriend.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right.
Yeah. They also so Spencer Cox always said he was like influenced by, or quote, had leftist ideology. We're talking about Tyler Robinson, the shooter here. But we're talking about Utah, where like it's like left wing there to say that like Jesus didn't ride dinosaurs with a saddle on him. So like, what are you talking about?
And so just to catch people up that aren't patrons, not catch them entirely up, but you were sort of where it seemed to be like the direction it seemed to be pointing in when we talked about this on the bonus episode on Friday was all these like things that were carved in the bullets and what little pieces we had that they were reading as being Antifa or whatever were actually like deep internet rabbit hole Groyper shit, Nick Fuentes and that type of thing, who had beef with Charlie Kirk and all that. Is that like, does that, I know we don't know anything for sure, but like, has any of that changed? Do you know what I mean? Like,
no,
to you, does it still seem to be, that seems the most likely,
So what I got it down lower. We were talking about like Tyler Robinson in his own words a little bit, where like we had group Discord chats with his high school buddies, where he seemed very normie politically. But like I don't know what to make of that. But yeah, the stuff you're talking about, like he wore a Pepe costume for Halloween. What is it? Was a Pepe meme, which is an all right thing, which could just be internet meme culture. The bullets, like we're talking about video game references, and like one said fascist hate catch, which seemed pretty straightforward, and maybe it is, right? But also, that's a video game reference, and Nick Fuentes also has repeatedly said we're living under Jewish fascism and hated Charlie Kirk for being anti-white race traitor. Okay,
right.
So,
and there was that song, that that Bella Ciao or whatever the song is, the Italian song that's supposed to, that it is originally anti-fascist, but is used ironically or became ironically co-opted by, again, Groypers.
It appears on Groyper playlists and stuff because they pass through from video games. But like, yeah, so like you don't, to some sense, like you try to make sense of this or just give up making sense of it. That like it seems straightforwardly. Robinson seems straightforwardly guilty as far as what we know, but like. We also, of course, we need to figure out the motives so we can start blaming each other, even though none of us did anything.
Right.
So Cox appears to be getting his information about the roommate transitioning from the FBI, which is problematic for reasons we'll come back to in a little bit. But like, I don't know where they're getting that they're romantically involved. I don't know who the source is for that. Maybe it's the roommate. The roommate's their own interesting person. But yeah, Fox was the first to report that the roommate was trans. And then they based upon a high-level anonymous FBI source But the reporter at Fox who tweeted that never actually got around to writing up the article. Maybe her bosses didn't think the sourcing was firm enough. But Kash Patel screen capped her post and then tweeted it out as if he's not the high-level anonymous FBI source, quoting himself being passed through a reporter. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Like,
so, like, where does it come from?
You got to believe this. It's in the newspaper. I told the newspaper this anonymous. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ. And the last few days were like all of this. It's like a game of telephone with 3 people playing with each other. And maybe, again, I'm open to being to proof of whatever the guy's motive is, but like I don't see it here. So the FBI is saying that Kirk's views on gender identity were, quote, hateful to people like Robinson's roommate, 6 sources familiar with the case tell Axios. The 6 sources familiar with the case all cited the same FBI officials. So the 6 sources are quoting other people at the FBI who might all be the same person.
Right.
And like this is all basically headcanon of Kash Patel, and we're all just have to like live in this reality.
It's like these actual like journalists and law enforcement officials and stuff are all just like playing telephone with each other or something, and you know, no actual sources to be found. But it doesn't matter. You know what they say about the truth can make it all the way around the world before a lie gets down the block or something like that.
Yeah,
gets its shoes on. Gets its shoes on. That's what it is, I think.
I've heard shoes and pants before. Okay. Yeah, that's probably the quote. But yeah, so like what you're talking about, like it seems to be a problem to me that like a bunch of cops and journalists all seem to believe that don't even seem to understand it's possible for their sources to say things they don't mean or fully believe. Like it's like we live in you ever seen the movie The Invention of Lying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that movie had a lot of potential, but not to turn this into a movie critiquing podcast, but I thought that movie started out really strong and it was a great like premise for a movie, but Ricky Gervais did Ricky Gervais shit to the second half of that movie, in my opinion. But anyway, go ahead. First half's hilarious, but
yeah, I thought it was I thought the implication of what it would be like. I thought it was like thought experiment. What would the world be like if only one guy could lie? Obviously, he'd be king of the world, right?
Yeah.
So the Daily Mail, which of course they're fucking rag, but since everyone's sort of doing this right now, I thought I'd like go with it. So the headline of this piece is trans partners in air quotes of Charlie Kirk suspect, quote, praised Joe Biden, that's in air quotes too, before conservative activist was shot, as linked to bizarre furry lifestyle revealed. Now, Robinson apparently did have a username on like a chat board that where people talked about furry stuff or did furry stuff, and one of the quotes he carved into a bullet was a reference to a meme about furries from 2015 when he was like 12 years old. All right, so the person we're talking about, the roommate, Daily Mail used the name Lance Twiggs. I guess I'm not sure where they're at with the gender stuff. I'm not trying to again, Lance didn't do anything wrong. He just had a roommate, right? So as a wannabe pro gamer, which Lance wants to be famous, which you should everybody should involved with this should recognize that as part of this story. He was posting in a forum called the what's it called? The Love for Landlord subreddit, which is inherently ironic. Okay. Yeah. So that's where all these quotes come from. But their source for the fact that Lance is trans is they go here. It is, quote, now been widely reported that Twiggs is transitioning genders. What has been widely reported? What is the sourcing for that?
Mm-hmm. It's just the same shit that you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
The cyclical FBI sources close to whatever, and it all seems to point back to the same thing, which, you know.
Trey, it's been widely reported on the internet that you're secretly Jewish and doing a character.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they also so I said before that Robinson apparently posted on some sort of furry forum, but also people do sexual pleasure stuff to themselves to all kinds of stuff that doesn't mean they identify as part of a community, right? I don't know a single person who identifies as a babysitter, for example. But so they seem to be saying that, they're saying that Lance was also a furry because one of their Abby's on one of their social media accounts is this picture, which is just Lance wearing footy pajamas with a hood that appears to be either a panda bear or a raccoon.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Meaning, are you serious that is the sole basis for the claim that person is a furry?
Yeah.
Because you see I see people in airports walking around with those fucking things on, those animal onesies or whatever, all the goddamn time. And in my head, it's always been These kids today, they probably like Japanese cartoons. That's probably where that comes from, or whatever.
Right.
Because I've seen actual furries too, and that ain't.
No.
You can tell the difference.
Yeah.
Like pretty immediately. Like furries it's hard to mistake a furry for not a furry in my limited experience having run into them.
You're not a furry. Like the publications like the Daily Mail, the whole Rupert Murdoch universe, the Fox News or whatever, just exists solely to like make old men shake their fist at their fucking monitors and TV screens.
Been that way for a long time now, but
So what does the fact Lance has pajamas have to do with any of it? Like it's like you're not a furry just because you wear whimsical pajamas, and it wouldn't matter if Lance was furry because Lance didn't fucking do anything.
Right.
So anyway, back to
even if the other dude, the guy that did shoot him, is like in love with Lance or whatever, they had some weird torrid thing. That also, even if that was the case, that doesn't mean anything about, the origins or motive or like psychology of the shooter either. So like, what is all this shit? It's just like you said, it's like they immediately jumped to, of course, like in the 33 hours where this guy was missing, they were like on the news and shit being like, we will catch the black trans Antifa gang member socialist who did this, or whatever. Like this far left activist. They said all that before anybody knew anything. And then they catch the actual guy, and now it's just like all this, anything they can find that's even like left coded to the fist shaking papaws that watch and consume this stuff. They're just going to run with all that because the fish shaking papaws, the FSPs, they see all this and go like, see, we knew it, knew it the whole time. Told you exactly. Explain that, like.
So getting back to what I was saying a few minutes ago about how like everyone's pretending to not get irony or not get people saying things sarcastically. So the person who wrote the headline of this Daily Mail piece did get it because they put "praise Joe Biden" in air quotes. Okay, so what they're referring to, the person who wrote the article seemed to not get irony. So in the Love for Landlords subreddit, which no one loves landlords, obviously they're fucking lying. Lance posted, "We are riding with Biden on this glorious subreddit." I don't know how to translate. I need to translate internet for everybody, but that means Lance does not like Joe Biden, or is ironically professing support for Joe Biden to be funny. Right. I do want to quote here: Twiggs' grandfather, Jerry Twiggs, declined to speak about Lance's gender identity. Quote, "I don't want to comment on that. I'm not sure what his situation is exactly right now. He's deferred. We got a woke Utah papaw, Trey." He's saying, "Let me check in with Lance where he's at right now before I tell you his pronouns." Oh my God, man! America is a fucking crazy place. So this has all been such an insane clusterfuck from the FBI standpoint. They're basically taking control of this investigation, even though it's a local crime. And they've been trying to backfill this stuff with culture war bullshit. Although, even though we don't I can guess there's a culture war is an element from one angle or another. No matter what it is, it might be both. He might be a gorper who loves trans people. That's theoretically possible in our world. Mm-hmm. Place is crazy. So like. They appear to have, like the administration of the FBI appear to have gotten lucky that there is a trans person connected to this story, which they seem desperate for the usual cultural war reasons we just talked about, but also there's specific reasons we'll get to in a little bit. But to me, it's just funny as fuck. There's just like pure coincidence. They combed through his life and found a trans acquaintance or roommate or lover or friend or whatever. And they're basically like, does it have anything to do with anything? Who cares? Let's fucking run with it.
Right. That's what I'm saying, because it'll be taken as, proof for being connected or something by a whole lot of people, and they know that. So, of course, they're going to run with it, regardless of how much of a basis in reality there is there or whatever.
Yeah, like Kash, man. Like I don't know if he'll be employed by the end of the week. He might be back to podcasting. He's got some congressional hearings he's facing later this week about whatever the hell's going on in this case, because everyone seems to be mad at him about it. Let me quote from him today. He went on the news and said this. He's saying that Tyler Robinson, the shooter, wrote a note where he confessed to shooting before he did it, but the note no longer exists, okay? Which you should trust them on. The written note we believe did exist. Evidence of his existence we now have learned existed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, he was also... Was it just the one time, or was it multiple times that he claimed that they had the guy and they didn't, and then had to be like, actually, we don't have the guy. We're trying to figure it, as the director of the FBI. And it's like, I mean, he clearly is just very much in over his head. Not to mention he always looks like he's, He's like always looks like he's about to be plowed by a semi truck while crossing an interstate at night.
Yeah,
He's got the deer eyes going on, but
yeah, Robinson was at least the third person they arrested for it in 33 hours. So Patel's not a career investigator. He was a lawyer, okay, or is a lawyer. So some of this stuff he should know. Like he's been all over TV talking about his personal friendship with Charlie Kirk while he's taken personal control and oversight of the investigation. That's a big no-no. You should not be doing that. You should be, stepping away. What do you call it? What do you?
No conflict of interest. You recuse yourself.
Yeah. Recuse is the word I'm
because
looking
of a
for.
conflict of interest. Yeah.
After he personally controlled the investigation, he walked the crime scene himself and said he found evidence, a screwdriver. This was like 29 hours after the shooting or whatever. So I don't know whether maybe it's true. Maybe he did personally find evidence, but you got all kinds of chain of custody problems there, and also. Like, it also, who didn't find the screwdriver the first few times they searched the fucking crime scene. He also said on TV today that they have DNA evidence that connects Robinson to the rifle. I don't think you can get DNA evidence in like 4 or 5 days, but like, even then, you can't publicly talk about it because DNA evidence has to be carefully delivered to the jury with specific instructions because it's not like it is on TV. DNA is not positive; it's probabilistic, which has to be explained to the jury. So that evidence might not be admissible even if it exists anymore because he's poisoned the jury pool. So like, even if Robinson's guilty, he might get off now. Like it's like
that would be insane. I can't even imagine like if he got off on a technicality because of Kash Patel's incompetence.
They might not have any evidence. Like
Right.
He immediately stopped cooperating once they took him into custody because like they're trying to give him the death penalty. If they took the death penalty off the table, he might have confessed and told him why he did it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, again, no one can really tell what his motive is. His grandma, the people running around saying the Antifa stuff pissed off his grandma. His grandma gave an interview which is like basically arguing the whole family's MAGA. It's like most of my family member. His grandma's name is Debbie Robinson. She's 69 years old, Utah. Most of my family members are Republican. I don't know any single one who's a Democrat, which, I wouldn't talk to my grandma about my politics. I mean, if she asked me, I would, but, it's not something that comes up. Robinson's parents are registered Republicans. He's not affiliated with either party, and he's not voted. He's never voted.
Right. I mean, isn't it also, even within the world of the whole, Groyper angle or whatever, possible that it's just, some version of he did it for the lulz essentially, or some weird internet troll shit where it's like, fuck it, why not? People want to what to think about this. It's this is the ultimate troll, or however you want to put it. Who the fuck knows with the way people are today? And it's also when people do these horrific school shootings and shit, it's not always assume some political messaging involved. It's they want to be famous, they want attention, they didn't have shit going on in their life, they're deeply disturbed. All these other things that normally lead to these types of actions could very well also be at play here. It's just that this guy was, a major public figure in the world of politics, and it's very, very charged politically, so people are all searching for this. It has to be this politically motivated, but even that is not necessarily true. It could be just your standard lone wolf school shooter lunatic mentality type thing,
If there's a larger takeaway here for me, if I'm a politician or a public figure, it's that the school shooter meme types, the ones who are talking to each other through these shootings and on message boards and stuff, trying to quote unquote get the high score, mean to body count, and try to leave. They do this in the most epic meme way possible, inscribing wacky memes on the bullets and shit.
Right.
What would strike fear in my heart is the shooters, if they start learning that no one cares about school shootings anymore because they're too common, and this is the way to get famous.
Right. 100%. Absolutely. It's at least occurring to some of them out there who have been mulling it over, because sadly, we don't give any fucks about school shootings in this country anymore. It's pretty much become completely just desensitized to them or whatever at this point. But this has, set this country on fire over the past almost week. So they're definitely going to take note of that type of thing, and that is scary to think about.
It's also the actual accelerationists that are part of the black pill, Groyper sort of movement, this has become clear that like if you want to actually like accelerate, this is like kill right-wing politicians.
I was just about to say that too. Is like also if it's like the whole idea of like that's a common tropey motive amongst like people that do it's types of domestic terrorism or something. They think it's gonna whatever they want to kick off a race war or whatever, but do their own version of like some kind of false flag or something. Like you said, accelerationist shit. Yes, the past 6 days has shown that this could be a very effective strategy if that's your goal too, which is also both of those things. Both of those implications are really unnerving to think through. Especially, but at least all the rest of us are generally on the same page about how we're going to move forward and conduct ourselves, and help prevent something like that from happening. No, they're playing right. A lot of people are playing right into the hands of people who want that kind of shit.
Fuentes is kind of a funny player in all this because like he immediately disavowed, like he apparently knew there was a civic possibility the shooter was a raper, so he immediately disavowed all violence and said he doesn't want these type of people associated with his movement, which is like what his whole movement's been. That's a part of this. Part of this is just factional beef settling between the factions, even if they're not involved in the shooting. Is like this is Nick Fuentes is basically his movement's bent the knee to fucking Turning Points USA and Charlie Kirk sort of movement because of all this. But yeah, circling back to Patel, so. And this one reason the knives are out for him is like this report came out that while Patel was live tweeting the second incorrect arrest, he was at a fancy restaurant in New York called Raoul's, an Italian joint that's apparently really hard to get into. Yeah, he had a reservation that he just kept for his good dinner before he went to Utah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's funny. That's kind of like, it's almost like a scene out of like a Veep type show or something like that, or the cross between that and American Psycho or something. Because I mean, I've heard of Raoul. It's like it's a meme how hard it is to get reservation. That's just like I don't know. That's funny.
Yeah. So another embarrassing thing the internet, like these people are on is always going to be ahead of them for a little bit, but like the fact their inability to catch up to it is sort of like wild to me. Like, so Robinson was in a Discord group chat with like 20 of his high school buddies, and the day of the shooting, they hopped on there, dropped in a picture of the shooter who actually was Robinson, of course, but they didn't really fully know it was, just thought he looked like him. But somebody dropped the image in and said, "Where are you at?" with a skull emoji. Basically joking he looked like the man who got caught. And then Robinson's like, "Oh, my doppelganger was trying to get me in trouble." And then everyone else sort of chimed in, "Tyler killed Charlie, ha 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 ha." After Robinson joked that the gunman was his lookalike, another user suggested that the group could turn in Robinson and get the $100,000 reward the FBI was offering. Robinson responded, "Only if I get a cut." And then they joked about "don't go to McDonald's," which is a reference to Luigi's arrest. Robinson's messages on Discord appeared next to his avatar, which was a Garfield comic and depicted the confused face of Garfield's owner, John Arbuckle. What do you do with a mass shooter who likes Garfield?
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Garfield thing is more out of left field than anything else we've said so far, in my opinion.
like the only political joke that Robinson made on there that I saw was he said, a left wing, like they were joking about Trump sending the National Guard into Utah. And Robinson's like, "Oh, well, obviously the shooter's from California," making a joke like a normie would, that California's all liberal and Utah's all conservative. But like, so nothing about him screams political at all, even in private. In fact, like, here's the part that got me. Like, he responded in the group chat, quote, "I heard the ammo had something about trans stuff on it, but they aren't releasing photos or exact quotes. And also the claim wasn't backed by the official FBI, just some dude in the briefing room." So he seemed surprised they interpreted the shooting as like, if you wanted to send a political message,
yeah, you'd want it to be clear. Right. Yeah. Yeah, you'd think. That's why they normally write fucking manifestos and shit, which end up being oftentimes not all that clear either, because, again, these are crazy people. But, yeah, in this case, right, there doesn't even seem to be an effort in that regard with this case, which is, so what does that tell you?
Here he was presented with a perfect opportunity to help get his message out there a little more without, like, confessing to anything. All he had to do was stop after the first sentence. "I heard the ammo had something about trans stuff on it." Stop there. Uh-huh. He disagreed with himself. So as far as why they need the motive to be trans, Patel screwed this case up so badly. Besides the culture war stuff, and talking about specifically why in this case, they seem to want this to be a federal case. All right. But murder is a state charge almost always. But Kash is desperate to save his job. They really need to get this guy the death penalty to be on the path for it. The only way to make a death penalty case in Utah is to call it terrorism, which is kind of a stretch here. And they really, really want to kill this kid. But also, like, Mormon juries, I'm not super well read on the Mormon opinions about the death penalty, but they feel they're not enthusiastic about it. Let's put it that way. And there's a Mormon jury, which you get like if they try them in this county, 90% of the people are Mormon. A Mormon jury is not going to want to give the death penalty to a young Mormon kid.
Okay.
Who can be redeemed.
All right.
See what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, I'd sooner lasso the moon than try to parse the inner workings of Mormon dogma. I have no idea where they're at on any of that shit either, but I believe you.
Right. So, if you get it a federal case, you pull from a statewide jury pool, which means maybe you move it to another county that's less Mormon, right? So, but the only way to move it to a federal court is to try to argue that there's a hate crime element attached to it. Which is why I think they want desperately for Robinson's motive to be related to like trans liberation or whatever, so they can call Kirk's murder an anti-Christian hate crime. Mm-hmm. It feels like to me that's where we're going with this.
Oh, definitely. Well, they've been, they've been desperate to be recognized as far and away the most oppressed and persecuted demographic in this country for years, white Christian conservatives. So, they definitely would love to. They'll take any opportunity to do that, but especially in a case like this one.
Mm-hmm. They're already starting. Like this has been a weird. This is not even related to like how we feel about Kirk or Turning Points USA or conservatives or whatever's going on in Magasphere, any of that stuff. Like the general vibe about free speech. This is worse than fucking after 9/11, man.
Oh yeah, dude. No, I've been freaked out. I said this on the Patreon episode too on Friday. Like, and I mentioned, the rant videos I do. I'm going to try to talk about some of this, but I'm definitely going to be, walking on eggshells a little more than I normally am. I think because I've been dude. These people they've been losing their minds. Just basically calling for like. Pickup truck pogroms or whatever against people on the left, open civil war. We're going to fucking kill you all has been the tenor of a lot of the shit that I've been seeing. People, they're out here making lists and stuff, and they're not, the leadership, the administration and everything is not, it ain't like they're, trying to pour cold water on that or nothing. Fucking straight gasoline is what they're doing generally, and it's like, it's fucking scary.
Yeah, and it's also conflation, like some stuff, like, I can understand like a company or a business. Not some of the stuff I've seen, I want to be associated with it. Like some of it's like openly gleeful about someone's murder, and that's bad. But the majority of it's just like people being like
quoting him.
Yeah, there's a lieutenant colonel in the army who they're trying to drum out of the service right now for literally just posted quotes from Charlie Kirk. Right. Didn't even say they were bad. He might have been a fan of them.
Yeah, right.
But
what does that say about you that you interpret them that just just the quotes on their own with no additional context added? Mm-hmm. Your interpretation of that is like, he's trying to make Charlie look like an asshole or whatever. Like, what does that say about the fucking the quotes themselves or whatever? If even you interpret it that way, or but yeah,
it's also like. It's not like Kirk was ashamed of any of the stuff he said. He was. No. That's his whole deal with saying it. So like, it's all very, very weird to me. But I've seen people getting fired for very straightforward, extremely innocuous stuff. I've lost count of how many people lost their jobs the past couple of days. And this is the middle of the government itself. JD gave a horrific. He guest hosted Kirk's show today and get this fucking rant that was like, Jesus Christ! It sounds like he's like calling for like. Every college professor to be lined up in front of a firing squad.
Right, that's what I'm saying. That's how they've all been sounding. It's fucking, it's freaky.
Let me quote here. Many Republicans and conservative commentators are calling for a sweeping crackdown on left-wing groups, assuming that the perpetrator would likely be someone from the opposite side of the political spectrum as Kirk, which, even if, again, we don't know this guy's ideology, but no one's alleging that he was part of any sort of network or like funded by anybody or anything like that. He took his dad's old hunting rifle and shot a guy. Quote, my administration will find each and every one of those who contributed to this atrocity and to other political violence, including the organizations that fund it and support it, as well as those who go after our judges, law enforcement officials, and everyone else who brings order to our country. It's a quote from Trump. Then Stephen Miller said they were going to launch a crackdown on, quote, radical left organizations that also blame. They're gonna take away the tax exempt status of like gay rights groups and try to like use the IRS to punish lawyers who represent them. That's basically what they're saying here. Here's a video from Stephen Miller if you want to talk about the divide here.
Universities, in many cases, have become incubators for extremism. They become the equivalent of madrasas for jihadism. Our university.
Okay. Robinson went to one semester at Utah State University.
Yeah, like a farm school, I think, like an agricultural college, one semester in Utah. Those famed breeding grounds of far left ideology.
And then he transferred to a technical school, and maybe they were doing woke cultural Marxism between HVAC classes. I don't fucking know.
It's just so ridiculous.
And then stuff like I've seen in the last few days, just like the ideas are kicking around. Clay Higgins, Republican congressman, is talking about using Congress's power somehow to call for lifetime social media bans for people that made jokes about Charlie Kirk. The State Department's trying to saying they're going to deport people who posted any sort of like negative stuff about Charlie Kirk. There's also a bill in front of Congress right now that'll give the State Department the right to take away Americans' passports for expressing ideology they don't like, so they're trying to lock us in the country.
Yeah.
And like Pete Hegseth has people like hunting for the social media profiles for everybody who works at the Department of Defense. Anybody who mocked or condoned the assassination, which condone in their eyes is basically saying like, while I think murder is bad, I don't know if we should be praising Charlie Kirk this much. That's considered like, even though you say you should have been murdered, just construing that as I'm glad he's murdered. So that's
anything short of like open adulation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like hero worship, or like deep mourning, like anything other than that. Doesn't matter how nuanced or diplomatic you try to make it, that counts as
the guy at the Advanced Auto Parts store who's like who earlier, like that guy could go to. Like, they want to put that guy in prison for not knowing who he is. Already several service members, people who volunteered to join the armed forces, have been relieved of their jobs because of social media posts. Let me quote here from they started the snitch hashtags for service members to snitch on one another. So we have keyboard warrior, for civilians who see Facebook posts and stuff to snitch on people in the armed services. So we got keyboard warriors taking out actual warriors. Some have been pretty harsh, like the hatred you spew is enough to get you what you deserve, pal, which, armed services kill people for stuff like their political positions. That's literally their job. So I'm not sure what you expect. But like some of the posts in that collection don't necessarily condone or mock Kirk's murder, but have been reviewed as unfavorable, including one that read, "I don't give a shit about Charlie Kirk." You're not allowed to not give a shit. They're essentially calling together a meeting of the whole armed force and said, "You will give a shit, soldier." We quote here from an officer who said that troops know they're not allowed to condone political violence, but being fired for criticizing a person, particularly a civilian who has no ties to the military, is extremely rare. Quote, "We can't criticize the commander-in-chief, but I can't remember anyone ever telling me we can't say anything critical about a civilian like this. He was not in our chain of command or anything," the officer said. So they're forcing the U.S. Army to honor him. Like, what is he, a Confederate general? Yeah. The fuck? They're gonna rename Fort Bragg to Fort Charlie Kirk. It's like, what the fuck? He's gonna be on money by this time next week.
Dude, wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah. It's been truly wild, and again, who knows where it's gonna go from here? I might as well just make that the official sign off of this show every week, because that's pretty much what I always end up saying organically. Things are fucking insane, and we don't even know how much worse it's gonna get. See you next week. But y'all can go to TreyCrowder.com and check out my upcoming tour dates. Come see me on the road. If you want a palate cleanser, listen to Good Skews, producer Matt's audio exclusive on the podcast version of this show. And you consider signing up on Patreon, $5 a month at weeklyskews.com/more, or just go to Patreon and search for my name. For that $5 a month, you get 2 full-length bonus episodes per month, including roughly quarterly. We do Q&A, Skew&As we call them. So get some more Skews in your life, support the show in the process. And, yeah, come see me on the road. And other than that, if you just keep coming back on Tuesdays, We will too, until we're thrown in the gulag or worse. But anyway, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Hang in there, everybody. Love you like chicken. See you. Bye. Skews.